cumulative selection, wrote Darwin. Nature gives successive variations. Man adds them up in certain directions useful to him. Darwin noted that pigeons have been coaxed into a dizzying variety of breeds. The carrier, with its elongated eyelids and a wide gape of mouth. The short-faced tumbler, with its beak in outline almost like that of a finch. The common tumbler, with its penchant for flying in close formation and tumbling in the air head over heels. And perhaps the strangest of all, the pouter, with its elongated legs, wings, and body overshadowed by its enormously developed crop, which it glories in inflating for its astonished patrons. Of course, pigeon breeders achieved these startling metamorphoses by carefully sifting and selecting. But, as Darwin pointed out, nature also has a means of sifting. Defective creatures are less likely to survive and reproduce, while those offspring with beneficial variations are more likely to survive, reproduce, and pass on their advantages to future generations. In The Origin, Darwin argued that this process, natural selection acting on random variations, could alter the features of organisms just as intelligent selection by human breeders can. Nature itself could play the role of the breeder. Consider once more our flock of sheep. Imagine that instead of a human selecting the woolliest males and ewes to breed, a series of very cold winters ensures that all but the very woolliest sheep in a population die. Now again, only very woolly sheep will remain to breed. If the cold winters continue over several generations, will the result not be the same as before? Won't the population of sheep eventually become discernibly woollier? This was Darwin's great insight. Nature, in the form of environmental changes or other factors, could have the same effect on a population of organisms as the intentional decisions of an intelligent agent. Nature would favor the preservation of certain features over others, specifically those that conferred a functional or survival advantage upon the organisms possessing them, causing the features of the population to change. And the resulting change will have been produced not by an intelligent breeder choosing a desirable trait or variation, not by artificial selection, but by a wholly natural process. What's more, Darwin concluded that this process of natural selection acting on randomly arising variations had been the chief agent of change in generating the great branching tree of life in all its variety. On the Origin of Species seized the attention of the scientific community like a thunderclap. Darwin's analogy to artificial selection was powerful, his proposed mechanism of natural selection and random variation easily grasped, and his skill in dispensing with potential objections unrivaled. Moreover, the explanatory scope of his argument for universal common descent constituted something of a tour de force. By the close of The Origin, it seemed to many that Darwin had dispensed with every conceivable objection to his theory but one. The Anomaly, Darwin's Doubt. Despite the scope of his synthesis, there was one set of facts that troubled Darwin, something he conceded his theory couldn't adequately explain, at least at present. Darwin was puzzled by a pattern in the fossil record that seemed to document the geologically sudden appearance of animal life in a remote period of geologic history, a period that at first was commonly called Silurian, but later came to be known as the Cambrian. During this geological period, many new and anatomically sophisticated creatures appeared suddenly in the sedimentary layers of the geologic column without any evidence of simpler ancestral forms in the earlier layers below, in an event that paleontologists today call the Cambrian explosion. Darwin frankly described his concerns about this conundrum in The Origin. The difficulty of understanding the absence of vast piles of fossiliferous strata, which on my theory were no doubt somewhere accumulated before the Silurian, that is, the Cambrian epoch, is very great, he wrote. I allude to the manner in which numbers of species of the same group suddenly appear in the lowest known fossiliferous rocks. The sudden appearance of animals so early in the fossil record did not easily accord with Darwin's new theory of gradual evolutionary change, and there was one scientist who would not let him forget it. The Antagonist. Swiss-born paleontologist Louis Agassiz of Harvard University was one of the best trained scientists of his age, and he knew the fossil record better than any man alive. Hoping to enlist Agassiz as an ally, Darwin sent him a copy of On the Origin of Species and asked him to consider the